as an example, by the way, to get more toward economic questions, as an example of what I mean by uniting with a public, part of the public that hates the establishment, hates the government. I happen to live in California, the glorious summer of 1978, when Proposition 13 was passed. And it was a magnificent thing to see because everybody was against it. Everybody hated it. It's a terrible thing. It will destroy the state government. There won't be any police anymore if you pass this big tax cut, property tax cut. There won't be any schools. There won't be any firemen. The roads will decay. And none of it worked. I mean, everybody, the whole big business, big unions, big government, our beloved teachers' unions, the whole group weighed in. The press, the media, TV, everybody attacked it. Irresponsible. How can these people be so irresponsible in favor of cutting the property taxes by 2/3, a terrible thing? And as the thing built, as the hysteria mounted, the polls began to record that Proposition 13 was getting more and more support. It was a beautiful thing. And at the end, it swept the victory, but no establishment support whatsoever. 2 or 3 economists, and that was about it. And as I say, it was a glorious thing to see, and if it could happen then, it could happen somewhere, another time too. Of course, that was the heyday of anti-government sentiment in the United States so far, which was the late 70s, before the Reagan administration came in and co-opted the whole movement. But it can happen again, because I think one of the glorious things about what's happening since President Bush got in, with 8 years of the Reagan miasma being lifted at long last, and the sort of narcosis or whatever, of the Reagan smile and the head shaking and all the rest of this. People begin to see reality once more. And what happens as soon as Bush is hardly in office? And suddenly what happens? There's the SNL crisis, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, and Secretary of Treasury Brady comes out with a brilliant idea. The way to save the SNLs and pay off the depositors, tax the deposits, bank deposits. Small tax, only 25 cents for every $100. What is it? The public won't care. By the way, here's, I think, a problem with the public choice people. They would say, also, the public wouldn't care. It's a small amount. The costs are spread over many people, teeny amount. And it was a magnificent, it was a wonderful thing. And one of the greatest things that happened in American politics in my memory, namely a firestorm of hatred, rose up. And in three hours, the whole proposition was dead. In 3 or 4 hours, it was great, because it was advanced at 10 o'clock in the morning one day, whatever it was. And by 3 o'clock, this crossfire, whatever it was on, it said, it's dead, it's finished. I mean, Democrat, Republican, it didn't make any difference. It's finished, it's ridiculous, idiotic, stop, it's it, it's out. So what a magnificent thing, it's just beautiful. It reminded me, of course, in the early 80s, even the heyday of the honeymoon, they tried to put in withholding tax, remember, on interest and dividends. That was killed also. And this is a great reversion of that. Okay, the second step, which happened shortly thereafter, which is sort of like a 1-2 punch of the establishment, was the congressional pay raise scam. I'm sure you all remember that. One of the beautiful things in American politics. Not organized by the Libertarian Party. It caught us by surprise. and they have this whole thing rigged, so you have the so-called bipartisan commission of beloved people. I use the term beloved, by the way, if you're not familiar with this, by people who are beloved by all right-thinking people. New York Times, CBS, Washington Post. And one of the most beloved people in 20th century America was Lloyd Cutler, who was the chairman of this bipartisan commission. And Cutler, in his wisdom, as a long-time lobbyist of the public trough, of course, came to the conclusion that we need a 50% pay raise for congressmen and for top bureaucrats with judges and everything else. It's desperately needed, otherwise we'll lose these great people. We'll lose them. Pay them now. It wasn't a grabber. And the thing is, and it was organized, there was a revolution against the pay raise. It was organized by radio talk show hosts, a heroic group, because the TV is sort of locked up. And you watch TV, you watch Donahue and all these other creeps, and the radio talk show hosts, whoever was sort of semi-libertarian or whatever, they rose up as one man practically and had this whole network across the country, send tea bags to the congressmen protesting against this rotten. How dare they? See, the point is the moral indignation again. How dare these SOBs vote themselves a pay increase at our expense? Very simple and very effective. In the 19th century, anytime Congress voted itself a pay raise, even $100 a year, they were thrown out of the next election, just like that. How dare these people do that? Okay, so the same spirit rose up. It's not dead in America. And tea bags were sent to all these people, and even White Sulphur Springs, Greenbrier, or whatever, the Democratic congressman or national committee, whatever, met in a conclave, and all of a sudden they're debuting in tea bags with tickets. And it worked. It worked. That's the great thing about it, because the one thing about Congress, I mean, we complain a lot about Congress, of course, but one thing about them, they have to come up for re-election pretty often, so they're sensitive to public protest and pressure. That's the point. It's not the idea of begging these people. Put pressure on them. Look, you and you so-and-so, if you vote against me for the pay raise, you're out. You're finished. And so it worked. We beat it. And it's just a great thing. It's magnificent. Despite all the establishment, despite all the hokey arguments, we'll lose these great people. Of course, nobody quit. I mean, nobody has It's one of Rothbard's laws. I have a bunch of sociological laws. One of them is nobody ever resigns. And once in a while, of course, it's very rare. Okay, so this is these are heartening signs. These are signs that things are breaking loose again in the United States as they were before the Reagan administration.